What's up everyone, it's Q from Retro Q Game, and happy Christmas by the way. This video is coming out very early Christmas Day morning. Think of this as my Christmas present to you. That's the best way of thinking of it. So, just a few days ago, I finally got around to replacing my Nintendo 64. So I previously had, obviously, my old N64, had an expansion pack, had a bunch of games, Goldeneye, Perfect Dark, etc, etc. And when I got this new one, I decided, as well as playing a bunch of new games new pickup games that I picked up, the likes of WCW NWO Revenge and WWF No Mercy were the two new ones I picked up. But I went back and I started playing some of my old ones as well. I started playing Super Mario 64. I played a little bit of Donkey Kong Country 64. Well, it's not Donkey Kong Country 64. Donkey Kong 64. I played a little bit of Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time just to see how it held up. And of course, I got to Goldeneye and Perfect Dark, so as, you know, anyone would. Now, unfortunately, Goldeneye and Perfect Dark on the Nintendo 64 have aged horribly. It's a shame. Now, a couple of things came through my mind at first. It was like, okay, when I replaced the new N64, or when I replaced the old one with this new one, I got two new controllers with it as well. They were brand new third-party controllers. The sticks on them feel really, really good, and pretty much everything about them feels really good. And the buttons, the controls, the sticks feel really good. So at first I thought, maybe the sticks are too tight, and it's kind of fucking me up a little bit. So I actually went back and I used my original N64 controller. It doesn't have an absolute tight stick, but it's the kind of... It's not too loose. It's the kind of loose that you get from actually playing. So it's, you know, like when you get something new, you kind of have to break it in. It's like that. It was the broken in type of controller. And I remember playing the N64, those games in particular, with that controller. And I remember it being really good and really well. So I got that controller, started playing with it. I was like, no, these games have not aged well at all, unfortunately. Which is a killer to me, because I wasn't a huge Perfect Dark fan back in the day. Well, let me rephrase that. It's not that I wasn't a huge Perfect Dark fan. I barely got to play it on the N64 when it first came out. Expansion packs were very rare around here. One of my friends had it at one point, and I got to play a little bit of it. But, well, that was when it was brand new first out. But Goldeneye... forget about it. Goldeneye, I was all day, every day. You know how it is. If you had a Nintendo 64, you know the deal when it comes to Goldeneye. So it was really unfortunate that happened. But a pro did come out of this. It reminded me, once I started playing Goldeneye, I was like, oh, this is a bit disappointing. It hasn't aged really well at all. And then I played some Perfect Dark. I was like, it's not too good. You know, it hasn't aged well. And then I remembered, wait a minute, there's an Xbox 360 port of Perfect Dark. Not just a port, we'll call it it's more of a remake, because they put it in 1080p, 60 FPS, and they kept the same graphical style, but they HDified it, if you will. HD'd it, whatever you want to call it. They gave it the HD, whatever way you want to look at it. So I decided, right, I'm going to play that. Turn on my Xbox One. It is an Xbox 360 arcade game, but it's backwards compatible on the Xbox One. If you have Rare Replay, it comes on that, but I have Rare Replay, but I have a physical version of that. But at the same time, I originally bought the digital copy of Perfect Dark on the 360, so it's backwards compatible, so I could just download it without playing it with a disc. So I did that. It's a very small game. Put it in, started playing. As you see here, it still looks pretty damn good, and it plays really, really well. And it even keeps all that good stuff that made I won't say the rare games, but made Goldeneye and Perfect Dark feel like Goldeneye and Perfect Dark. So it still has a lot of that. And it's one of the old games that, when you look at first-person shooters nowadays, they're so linear and they're absolutely shallow. This seemed to be almost, I won't say the absolute defining point of where expansive first-person shooter levels, like when you look at Doom and you look at games like that, Doom and Duke Nukem, and obviously Goldeneye and Perfect Dark in particular was kind of, I won't say excessively over the top, but it was very deep and complex. So it's almost like you can see where everything started going downhill when it came to linearity in first-person shooters, and where they kind of lost their depth and just got really shallow and flashy, or at least where, you can see almost where it was at the tipping point if it wasn't these in particular. But anyway, I'm getting a little bit off topic. The reason why I'm making this video is we all see how gorgeous this game is, how great it looks in the Xbox arcade version. It's got 1080p 60 FPS and it looks nice and it plays well while keeping the aesthetic, feel, atmosphere, the immersion of the original. Okay, so that's important. Now, if you remember, a couple of months ago, sometime back in summer, they released a 30-minute. Someone somehow got a 30-minute clip of what would essentially have been the Goldeneye version of this remake. So let's think of it as a Goldeneye 007 Xbox Live Arcade version. Would have basically been the 1080p 60 FPS HD version of the N64 game. Now, unfortunately, we're in a really bad situation when it comes to Goldeneye. And the reason for that is I'm not 100% sure on this because it's really complex and convoluted. But if I remember right, obviously Microsoft own Rare now. They bought Rare and all of Rare's properties. So the way I understand it, okay, Rare owned Perfect Dark. I know it came out on the N64, but even then, Rare owned Perfect Dark. Nintendo I think it was they published it or something like that, or they allowed it on their console, whatever it was. And because of that, Rare maintained the rights, so when Microsoft bought them, obviously they could make Perfect Dark Zero, and they could make the HD version of Perfect Dark. But, obviously GoldenEye 007 came out earlier on the N64 than Perfect Dark did. Now, as far as the way I understand this, Nintendo maintained the rights for that. I don't know how. I don't know if it's to do with the fact that maybe they funded it with the idea. Maybe they paid whoever, MGM or whoever owns the rights for the James Bond series. Maybe Nintendo paid them for that. So Nintendo have it because of that. So unfortunately, when there was always the rumors a few years back that this alleged HD Goldeneye was in production, or it was in fact alleged to be completed and ready to launch. Now, real quick, I'll have a link in the description below to the massive gameplay footage of it. So if you do go and check that out, you can see what I mean. It looks great and it would have played fantastic. So I can't remember who it was. I don't think it was Phil Spencer. I think it was someone before him. It could have been Don Matrick or just someone in general. But I remember, I seem to remember someone high up and important from Xbox a few years ago saying that, this is ready to go. Nintendo was holding it back. Nintendo have to give their go-ahead because of the whole rights thing. And that's the reason we also don't see the GoldenEye on the virtual console for the Wii or the virtual console for the Wii U, because Nintendo, what's the best way of wording this? Nintendo need to give the go-ahead to Microsoft to release it, and Microsoft need to give the go-ahead to Nintendo to release it. Now, one won't do without the other. So basically, Nintendo won't give the rights to Microsoft if Microsoft won't give the rights for thing. It's really weird. Basically, Nintendo is spiting them and holding the whole thing back, which is really unfortunate because, as I said, the gameplay footage for GoldenEye looks great. It looks like it would play fantastic as well. So it really kind of bums me out for that. And the only way I can describe it is it's very Nintendo. And don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing Nintendo in general. I am in this specific case because, if I remember right, there's a quote around there somewhere when asked specifically about the whole allowing Microsoft to release it so that they could also release it on the virtual console or whatever. And whoever gave the quote or whoever was being interviewed at Nintendo at the time, they just said, "Oh, a Nintendo game will never come out on another platform," or something along those lines. And it pretty much just shut it down forever. And it's really unfortunate because GoldenEye is a brilliant game. Obviously, we all have ridiculous amounts of time put into the single player. We all have those amazing memories of 4-player local co-op just kicking the crap out of each other, probably on Facility. or Complex, or they were my two favorite maps. But yeah, it's really disheartening that Nintendo is allegedly the reason that all this is, or that we can't have these nice things. So all I can say is, if you are a fan of GoldenEye, or if you're a fan of Perfect Dark, and you have an Xbox 360 or an Xbox One, I definitely recommend this port of the game. Works really well, looks really good, and it keeps almost everything that made the original great still in it. So like I said, check the link in the description below. It's about 30 minutes long, and it'll probably bum you out, just because it'll make you think, it looks so good, I wish we could have this. Damn it, Nintendo, why are you holding us back? So let me know in the comment section below what you think about the whole rumors that this was completed or almost completed, and that Nintendo were possibly the ones holding it back. Whenever you look anywhere, it's always pointing to Nintendo. I'm not sure if it's 100% true or not, but you get the idea. So let me know what you think of it, or what you think of the situation, or if you're a big Perfect Dark GoldenEye fan, whatever, in the comment section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitter, details in the description below. Thank you for watching. See you on the rest of the videos in my channel. And once again, Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.